Sunday, November 28th, the first Sunday of Advent. Advent season is here, the beginning of the new liturgical year. The Gospel continues to give us messages of the second coming of the Lord, very similar to the ones we had for the last two Sundays at the end of the liturgical year. The first reading is a prophecy about the birth of the Messiah from the clan of Jesse, which sets the Advent tone. As we have seen a couple weeks ago, the language of the second coming of the Lord is bathed in an apocalyptic narrative style. The Gospel text predicts upheavals in the sky, on the earth, and in the sea. It reminds us of the primordial chaos before the earth and seas were fixed in their boundaries, before the sun and moon were given their time and place to shine. The cataclysm in the text invites us to reflect on the season of Advent as a time of hope for the whole of creation, hit by environmental disasters and chaos. In the midst of chaos, the Gospel invites us to hold our heads high and stand upright, for salvation is at hand. Our world returns to chaos primarily because of the exploitation of our environment. We have wronged the earth and have thoughtlessly exploited all its resources. Breaching the divine laws etched in nature has created chaos. After trespassing nature's laws, we face the same psychological condition of Adam and Eve. God was their walking companion on their journeys. After the breach of divine laws, they began to fear God. So do we. We have started to fear nature as well. After murdering his brother, Cain realized everything on earth would revile against his fratricide. He was hiding away. When we breach the laws of God, we are afraid of nature turning against us, which, in fact, it does. Adam and Eve attempted to cover their newfound nakedness, their vulnerability, with a few leaves, with a quick fix. When we are exposed to our own thoughtlessness and vulnerabilities, attempting to cover them with quick fixes is futile. Inner harmony is destroyed, and human greed and avarice lie exposed. Covering the outside with a few leaves will not solve the problem, but rather aggravate it. It is merely an attempt to hide, like the metaphorical ostrich who buries its head in the sand when it cannot escape danger. It believes that by hiding its head, the threat will vanish. But the threat begins inside, in our attitudes, and thus must begin to change from the inside. And that change should happen for the whole of humanity, converting each of us to care for the earth. Advent should be a time of hope for regeneration of ourselves, of rebuilding broken relationships with others and with nature. To begin restoration out of chaos is to fix one's gaze on the Lord who is coming. His instruction is to stand erect and look up because salvation is at hand. I am reminded of the boy from a nautical novel who climbed the mast of the ship to tie a flag. The little ship was caught up in a storm. The violent winds had torn the ship's flag, and it had to be replaced quickly to be identified as a friendly vessel. One of the deckhands scaled up the mast with the flag. With much difficulty, he managed to tie the flag. After tying it, he looked down. He was terrified to see the tiny ship being tossed like a toy in the sea, and he was swinging on the mast like a pendulum at every bounce of the ship in the thrashing waves. Finally, he shouted at the top of his voice, I cannot make it to the deck." The captain, noticing that he was about to give up in the fight, asked him to look up at the sky and climb down. The boy looked up, saw the clearing sky. A glimmer of hope dawned upon him. He kept looking up at the sky and felt the steps of the ladder with his feet and descended to the deck. Fixing one's gaze on the Lord in hope, away from the chaos, is the immediate answer to our anxieties and our despair. But that is not enough. On the deck, at the bottom, we need to do a sincere pre-mortem of the Project Human on Earth, tracing backwards the moments of failure, repairing them, restoring them, and regenerating them. The hope of the advent of the Lord is not limited to humans alone, but to the whole of creation. Yet, that hope should begin with us humans.